Faith. It is one of the most talked about words in the world. But what if faith feels nothing like what you've been told? What if faith isn't always confidence or certainty or having all the answers? What if faith sometimes feels like confusion, silence, waiting, and letting go? In this reflection, we will explore what faith really feels like beneath the surface. And if you stay on to the end, you may discover one of the greatest truths about faith that many people never realize. Let's begin. Faith is not always clarity. Faith is often described as certainty, but many times faith begins where certainty ends. Sometimes you don't know what God is doing. You don't know why your answer hasn't come yet, and yet you keep walking. It is often confusion first. Before there is understanding, there's always confusion. Life begins shifting. Whole direction stops making sense. The future feels unclear. But confusion does not always mean you are lost. Sometimes it means you are growing. Faith is working without full understanding. Faith does not require the full picture, only the next step. If we could see everything ahead, faith would not be necessary. Sometimes faith is simply moving forward before understanding comes. Listen carefully to this part, slide 5. Faith is trusting when nothing confirms you. That means there is no sign, no evidence, no reassurance, just a quiet decision to trust. Faith is believing that what you cannot see today may still be unfolding. Faith is letting go of control. This particular slide is very important because every one of us wants to prepare for a particular outcome. We want to have control to feel safe. It makes us feel prepared, yes, but faith asks for surrender, and surrender doesn't always feel easy, but it often leads to peace. Faith is building a relationship with your inner knowing, the Holy Spirit. Faith is not just belief, it is relationship, a quiet awareness within you that gently nudges you, leads you when logic cannot. The Holy Spirit doesn't always shout sometimes, He whispers. Slide 8 is the foundation of what faith represents. Faith is believing that God exists beyond what the human mind can fully explain. There are things faith cannot explain fully, and that's okay because God is not limited to human understanding. Faith begins where explanation ends. Faith is seeing yourself as worthy to communicate with God. Faith also changes how you see yourself. Not as unworthy, not as distant, but as someone God can speak to and someone who can speak back. Almost everyone don't like this aspect of faith, but let's dive in. Faith is living your truth even when society says otherwise. Faith will sometimes isolate you because not everyone will understand your convictions. But faith teaches you to stay aligned even when it is not popular. Faith is forgiving even when you are deeply wronged. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is faith in healing. Faith that your heart can be free again without carrying what broke it. Thank you for sticking around to this stage. More truth about faith is coming your way right now. Welcome to slide 12. This part about faith is one of the most interesting aspects. Faith is taking a leap without certainty. Faith is not always safe. Sometimes it feels like stepping forward without knowing what will catch you. But even in that uncertainty, you move anyway. Faith is showing up without applause or recognition. There are moments where no one sees you, no validation, no recognition, just quiet obedience. And in those moments, faith is still present. Faith is trusting the will of God when the noise of life gets louder. Life gets loud sometimes. Opinions, pressure, uncertainty. But faith is choosing to listen beyond the noise and trust what God is saying underneath it all. Faith is silence that feels loud. There are seasons where God is quiet, but the silence is not absence, it is preparation, and sometimes that silence speaks the most. This is the foundation of what faith represents. Faith is believing while fear is still present. Faith does not mean fear disappears. Sometimes fear is still there, but faith chooses not to follow it. It chooses trust instead. Faith is choosing God without seeing the outcome. This part of faith is one of the most talked about aspects. You may not see how it ends, you may not understand the path, but faith is still saying yes, even without the full picture. Faith is standing still when everything in you wants answers. There are moments where waiting feels heavy, where movement feels necessary. But faith is teaching stillness, even when everything inside you wants to rush ahead. And still, you don't let go, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it feels uncertain, even when nothing is clear. You hold on, not because it is easy, but because something within you still believes. So why does faith feel this hard? Because faith was never meant to feel easy. It was meant to feel real, raw, uncertain, but deeply transformative. It was never meant to feel easy. It was meant to be real. And maybe That is the truth about faith. It doesn't always remove the struggle, but it gives you strength inside it, one step at a time, one moment at a time, one quiet yes at a time. This brings us to the end of Faith Reflection Part 1. Don't forget to subscribe because Part 2 is around the corner. And I also want to hear from you. Drop your comment. What does faith means to you? Don't forget, spread the word, spread the light to someone trying to make meaning of what faith represents. Thank you. See you again very soon. Bye-bye.